Welcome to the Regal Eagle Report. I'm Lasya.
I'm Evelyn.
I'm Arsh.
And I'm Encore, and we are your co-hosts.
We are Team 2869, a diverse and inclusive team located at Bethpage High School.
We are aiming for our podcast to be an outlet to interact with other teams and collaborate on varied ideas and thoughts.
We are so excited to introduce our brand new series where we'll be interviewing one team from each state.
Embark on our journey as we will be aiming to hit every state with our final goal of 50 episodes.
For this week's episode, we'll be interviewing a very special Hall of Fame team, the Cheesy Poofs from California.
So please, introduce yourselves as well as your position on the team. We'll start. So, I'm Arsh and I'm the captain of the team.
I'm Lasya and I'm podcast manager.
I'm Evelyn and I'm fundraising manager.
And I'm Encore, and I'm VP of Engineering.
And you guys can introduce yourselves now.
So I'm Arin, I'm the Outreach and PR Director at 244.
I'm Avi, I'm the FRC Technical Director.
And I'm Noah, and I'm an FRC Technical Lead on Team 254.
And I'm Andrew Torrance. I'm one of the mentors. I mostly do mechanical design and CAD.
So now coming to our questions. Our first couple of questions will be more like on background of your team and such. So our first question is, how was your team founded and what is its origin?
Yeah, so back in 1998, the NASA First Alliance, they formed a team in Broadway High School, and actually by accident while registering for the spring 1999 competition, they registered a second FRC team, which was us, and we ended up winning Rookie All-Star, and eventually the team was transferred over to Bellarmine College Prep, which we are now.
Okay, so was there a story behind your team name? And if so, what is it?
Yeah, so back in the late 1990s, the Cheesy Poofs was a South Park reference. So back when the show was really popular and just coming out.
Very nice.
You make me feel so old when you say it that way. Yeah, I mean, Cartman has a little song and dance where he's like, Cheesy Poofs, I like Cheesy Poofs. So yeah, it's a reference to that, but I always find it a little ironic how silly of a name our team has, the Cheesy Poofs. Like, what the heck is that? But then we always take ourselves with such professionalism and seriousness. So I don't know. I always find that a little silly.
So next we have more of like a personal question. So how long have each of you guys been like members of FRC?
So I've been on FRC for 3 years.
I've been here for 4 years, I'm a senior.
And I'm a junior, and I've been on FRC for 3 years.
Have any of you guys done first programs in the past?
No, I haven't. My brother and some of my cousins have been involved with FLL, so just on the sidelines a little bit.
Yeah, I did a little bit of FLL around elementary school, middle school, but for a lot of the people on the team, Team 254 was like the first experience with robotics and engineering and things like that.
Okay, where is your school located, and is it a big school district or a small one?
So we're located at Bellarmine College Prep in San Jose. It's a private Jesuit school, so it's not part of the school district.
So how has your team helped increase membership from the underclassmen?
So one thing that we tried to do more regularly this year from past years is that we started taking Shockwave, our teacher can robot, to more events, either at school, like to football games or basketball games, and just other like events around campus. And then a few other things that we do is Bellarmine hosts a summer camp for a variety of topics. And one thing that we've started hosting is a robotics summer camp inside of our lab for younger students, 5th through 9th grade, and just get them interested in robotics as a whole and kind of like a quick introduction to our team, things like that. But we also go to some other outreach events, which we'll talk about a bit later, I guess. And then also we tried to host Engineering Day a while back, and we're planning on doing that in the future, I guess.
I have a side question, but how many people are in your team total?
So we have about 100, 110 people in total, split among FTC, which we just started doing this year, with about 5 teams of about 8 people each, and then the FRC team has about 60 people.
Okay, so moving on to fundraising, can you guys tell us some of your sponsors or sponsors that have stayed with you guys for a few years?
Yeah, so a couple sponsors that we have NASA helped found our team, and then there's BAE Systems, Abbott, Haas, Intuitive, and yeah.
Yeah, and then Bellarmine's been a really big supporter of our team for a long time.
So, besides that, what are some of the fundraising initiatives that your team has taken?
Yeah, so most recently, our FTC team, to get funding and get the program running, they partnered up with local restaurants and fundraised via that to raise funds for our FTC program.
We've also done various types of outreach events that either help us connect with sponsors, but also maintain relations with companies that give us grants. Like we were at an event hosted by Intuitive Surgical just a couple months ago. And we also like to do a ton of outreach events just around the area because they're a ton of fun.
So now coming to the robot, how has your robot evolved over the years?
I mean, I think one thing is that because we've kind of been learning from each year, we kind of grow our designs based off of all that previous experience. So I guess one thing that our team has built, I guess, a lot of experience around is flywheel shooters, which is why we generally use those year after year. And I guess one thing that we learned from this year was, I guess, more about machining carbon fiber and how to use it, because we had a lot of, I wouldn't say problems, but we learned a lot and had a lot of mistakes with it. So we were able to use that experience like in future years, and we're able to kind of build off of what we use like year after year and just try and use that experience to make sure that we make informed decisions in the future.
And what is your approach to developing new mechanisms that you haven't used in a few years or you're not familiar with? And how do you determine like whether or not they're better than what you already know?
I can take this one. Especially with new mechanisms, like in the past year, for example, with our robot's intake, we had to do a ton of prototyping, which is something that we're definitely learning how to get better at as the years go on. And I think for really niche subsystems or mechanisms like an intake, the key is just going through a ton of different iterations, seeing which ones work, which ones don't. And what we're doing is sort of almost like a cost benefit analysis over different types of designs to see which one not only works the best, but also packages with the robot as well.
Got it. So now with kickoff around the corner, what are like some ways your team has been preparing for that?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things that we've been doing is we've just been cleaning up our lab and our machine shop, which we found that after a while things were just really cluttered and disorganized. So then what we started doing is we just started going through pretty much everything, including we have some shipping containers full of just old totes and a bunch of old stuff that we just started going through and reorganizing. And then also how our lab is organized in terms of parts is with thin bins, and then also some like a wire rack with some other bins. So we started reorganizing all of those. I think the main thing that we try to do before each like kickoff or season is that we try and just reorganize everything that we have in the lab so that we know what we want to keep, things that are either broken or old, and stuff like that, so that whatever we have in the lab we know is fresh and fully like capable of being used and we won't like run into trouble with.
And how are you like training new members? Like, is there like any sort of system you guys have in place?
Yeah, so year after year, what we do is we implement a tier system, which basically means that we'll kind of teach students a certain set of skills in each of those tiers and then give them a project or I guess some sort of test. You can say like for manufacturing students, they go through a tool test to get trained on each machine. So we give them a part or part drawing, and then their job is to machine that without any input from either a leader or a mentor. And then that's kind of their test for that machine if they can like use it fully by themselves. But then for other sub teams like the design sub team or the CAD sub team, we give them like they have to CAD a gearbox for tier 2, for example, or they have to CAD a simple drivetrain, things like that. And then that's kind of how we assess knowledge and kind of how it's a good way of us giving feedback in a way with an actual project. And then also just giving us a way to assess like how much they know, and then also what things we actually have to work on in the future in terms of workshops or just material that we're presenting.
Okay, going back towards outreach, is your school district affiliated with any other FLL teams? And I know you said you started an FTC team this year.
Yeah, so we're not really affiliated with any FLL teams right now. We are looking to relaunch our mentoring program, which we started last year. And I mean, aside from opening up our FGC program this year through our school. Yeah.
I skipped ahead. Sorry.
So, what are like some of your major outreach initiatives, like locally or internationally?
Yeah, so locally we make it a point to spread the word throughout the community. So that's going to events like Rose, White, and Blue, which was a July 4th parade, or Hot San Jose Nights, which is a local car show. And we set up stalls to inform the community. And then we host our own summer camp, which Abhi talked about. So for middle schoolers, 5th through 8th graders. And then we're trying to revitalize Engineering Day, which is another way, a free event for 5th through 8th graders to, engage in some sort of STEM project. And then, yeah, other than that, I mean, we have Cheesy Champs, where we have teams from all across the world coming, and it's live streamed. And so it's spread throughout the first community.
That's nice. So obviously you guys are a Hall of Fame team and you've won the Impact Award. So can you tell us like what years you've won the award?
Yeah, so we won Impact and were named to the Hall of Fame in 2004. And most recently, we won it at a regional in 2020.
So what initiatives do you think led to your team ultimately winning the Impact Award?
Yeah, so back in 2004, it was a combination of things. I think one of the biggest things they mentioned from what I could find was we had a portable machine shop at competitions, which was like all teams could come and use that to like manufacture a part that they needed. And yeah, and I think that has now evolved into what we call Cheesy Care at competitions, where we have a group of students now going around helping teams perform and play at their best.
So now to start wrapping things up, you guys have gone to World Championships 24 times. So how would you say the experience was for you guys?
It's amazing. Every year it's a different playing field, obviously, but also so many different teams that you get to meet. And I think it's really awesome getting to meet people from around the country and around the world, see how different robots are built, how they perform on the field, how they compete, and also, honestly, just at the end of the day, have fun.
Right. What would you guys say is your favorite parts of World?
I'd say definitely that there's so many robots there. There's like over 600 or 800. So sometimes it's just fun to go around, see how other teams are built. And then also teams that we don't necessarily see at like regionals that we go to. It's always, even though they're local, like in California, they might go to different regionals than us. So it's always fun to go see their robot, talk to them. And then that just kind of goes for any team. Everybody's always like really nice and really happy to talk about their robot. So it's just, I guess, learning more about different teams and then how their like robots operate year after year.
Right, I agree. It's nice to see teams that not only from the rest of like the states, but also internationally, teams that you've seen online before, and see them perform next to you on the robot field. And one more thing about Worlds. How was your experience playing during the Einstein Field in 2022 for Rapid React?
Okay. I mean, so personally, I guess we weren't on the Einstein Field, but for like when we were watching it, I'd say I was a little stressed a little bit because a lot of the matches were really close. But I mean, it was still a great experience overall. We were all extremely like excited. Just, I mean, for most of us, that was our first Worlds, or like some of us our first competition. So it was just really like, it was a big moment for all of us, I think, and we were all incredibly like hyper and just excited overall.
So what sparked your interest in robotics specifically?
Yeah, so we host these things called open labs. So I wasn't actually planning on joining robotics when I came in to the school, and I decided, hey, you know what, why not go to an open lab? And it was like that. I didn't think that robots could like move by itself. Like I saw an autonomous from, I believe, the 2021 game, and I was like amazed. I was like, hey, I wanna be doing that. So yeah, just like actually getting to see the robot was what made me join.
For me, it was a little different because my freshman year was during COVID, so we were all at home. So I didn't have like an open lab experience. It was more or less just, I went to one of the information sessions because I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really have anything to do, just sitting at home. So I thought maybe I'd try some clubs, and then it looked pretty interesting. And then, I mean, yeah, that's kind of it. I mean, our first year, there wasn't any, or my freshman year, there wasn't any competition. So I was just kind of there. And then some of the builds started happening like every once in a while being like socially distanced and taking like all the precautions and things like that. So then I came into a few of them and I was like, wow, this is pretty cool, I guess. And then I kind of just snowballed from there. I kept like learning more about it and I got more and more interested.
My reasons probably a little more cheesy, pardon the pun, but I've always been interested in mechanics and like moving things and like robots and stuff, which is why I think way back in 2015, when 254 was hosting Cheesy Champs for I think the second year, I stumbled into the lab because it's an open event and saw robots playing on a big field, huge robots, and back then I was just so amazed by the kind of stuff that high schoolers could do. That when I was looking at high school a couple years later, one of the big reasons I decided to come to Bellarmine was to do robotics. And so I think I owed a lot to some of the outreach initiatives that this team and also a lot of other teams have done.
Coming back to like Cheesy Champs, how did you guys like plan it? Like, how did that idea even like come to your mind to do something internationally like that?
Maybe I'll take this one, guys, because I was on the. I graduated in 2015, so I was a student in 2014 when we hosted Cheesy Champs for the first time. One of the reasons we wanted to do it was because, especially at that time in 2014, there were a lot fewer off-season events in California. There was basically Cal Games and maybe Battle at the Border or something in SoCal. So we just wanted more off-season events in the Bay Area in particular. And I guess there's Madtown Throwdown too. I shouldn't forget about them. But we also specifically wanted to make an event that had a competitiveness, an invitational that would rival the quality of play that we saw at events like IRI. That is like, at the time, was the prestige highest competition event. And so we were 254 in 2014. We had just come off of winning our second world championship and really thought that we could bring our expertise in all the professionalism, the branding, the AV, the strategy, and the changes to the rules, all that stuff into making a really great event, with the focus being on a good experience for the teams. And I think that was really the goals of the event. And I think you talk to anybody who's been to Cheesy Champs and they'll agree that it's a great event to attend. And every year since then, we've tried to maintain that and keep the game interesting and fun to watch. We typically have our own variations of the rules that we provide. And then in the past couple years, we've taken this Cheesy Champs from being a single tournament and kind of really transformed a lot more off seasons. We had a mentor, Pat Fairbanks, who worked on a custom field management software, FMS, that is called Cheesy Arena. And so this replaces the official FMS. We also can then outsource that for free. Any off-season can choose to run that, to run their off-season tournament. And then we also have our own set of electronics that partner with the FMS and Cheesy Arena to allow us to loan them out to teams like other off seasons in NorCal or SoCal can pick up our electronics and use them at their events. So Cheesy Champs is, I mean, you guys kind of glossed over it when you were talking about our outreach events, but that is a big thing that we do over the summer and in the fall, organizing, preparing, not just for our own event, but then the inventorying of all these electronics that we send out to all these other off seasons throughout California. So that's something we're really proud of.
What are like some international teams who have been to Cheesy Champs?
We've had great representation from teams like 1690 Orbit from Israel. They've attended and won Cheesy Champs. in 2021 we had a masked Cheesy Champs playing the 2020 game, and Orbit, man, they had a killer robot that year. They probably would have won the Worlds if Worlds had happened. And we also have had international representation from teams from Mexico, obviously Canada sometimes. It's been a couple years, I think, since we had a lot of Canadians attend. Mostly the Canadians go to IRI because it's a lot closer for them. Have we had a team from like Asia yet? I'm not sure. But I mean, it's honestly, it's mostly California teams. A good number from the Pacific Northwest will come down. You know, there's usually 2 or 3 from Texas each year, and then a handful spattering from across the rest of the U.S., and then maybe 1 or 2 international.
It's amazing. So, one of our last questions is, have alumni within your team pursued higher education like STEM majors, or are you guys planning to?
I mean, yeah. So since I'm a senior, I recently applied to colleges, and I'm planning on pursuing mechanical engineering in the future.
Yeah. Right now I'm a junior, so I'm not like 100% sure of the exact major, but I'm sure I want to pursue engineering.
And I'm also a junior, definitely looking at a lot of engineering, especially mechanical engineering programs. And as for other people on our team who've already graduated, I think the vast, probably a majority of all the graduates go on to college to study some sort of engineering, whether it's mechanical, software, electrical, and many of our alumni go on to work in engineering industries, especially around the area. For example, Torrance, who's an alumni, works as a mechanical engineer at a surgical robotics company, and he comes back to mentor along with several other alumni, which is awesome.
That's nice.
Your robot is always like focused on aesthetics, right? So how do you balance that with the need to play the game, right?
I think we always go for functionality over aesthetics, because at the end of the day, it is a robot that's meant to play a game. But I think we try to balance that in the sense that when we get to like either pocketing plates or designing certain parts, we'll kind of look at it and be like, oh, that looks kind of stupid, so let's make it different and not look like that. But I think overall, we always try to prioritize functionality. So in the beginning, during every season, we always build 2 robots. One is our practice bot, and then our competition robot. So with the practice bot, we don't like anodize any of the metal or do that much like powder coating. We just kind of get something out quickly so that we can start testing and giving it to software to start programming. But then based off of that, we use kind of like after we know that it's fully functional, then we'll look at some things and be like, oh, that either this should be powder coated, this should be anodized. And then I think aesthetics kind of comes along with like how we design. And then kind of just like after we're fully like aware, or I guess we're fully assured that the robot is functional, if that kind of makes sense.
Now that you guys are like a private school, right? And so like, does most of your funding come like from your sponsors and like your fundraising events, or like does your schools like fund you guys as well?
I'm not sure. Do you students know the answer to this one? There's a good amount that comes from the school, for sure, and they're definitely a title sponsor in that regard. But NASA, founded the team and still sponsors the team through funding of our regional and world championship registration fees. So that's many thousands of dollars that NASA continues to sponsor us with each year. We're considered a NASA house team, although we don't anymore have our lab located at the NASA Ames Research Center, where we did when I was a student. So those 2 are definitely the biggest sponsors, but we also do all the grants and stuff that can bring in thousands of dollars, and that's something that we spend a lot of time working on, those grants, and that's also a big part of the fundraising.
So we'll go back to a couple more questions. Starting with the robot again. When you guys make prototypes and like new design, how do you transform that into a final product? Like, what's you guys' process inside the lab?
Yeah, so as I was mentioning earlier, this year we did a ton of prototyping with different stuff, and we ended up going through, I think, over a dozen different iterations of just an intake, for example. And going from, that sketch in CAD, maybe like a couple pieces of wood, to a final intake made of like carbon fiber and flex wheels and all that, takes a lot of, I think, just trial and error. The advantage behind doing a whole lot of stuff in CAD is we can see sometimes like an intake isn't going to package well with the robot. Like, for example, we had designed like a huge intake that would have been the width of the robot, but having that have to move up and down along an elevator, for example, it would be too heavy or too janky and just wouldn't really work out. Other examples were intakes that wouldn't really suit our play style really well. Like, we always try to design for philosophy of like touch it, own it for game pieces. So something like, for example, a clamping claw or something wouldn't go too well with our type of play style and our build philosophy. And just keeping a lot of these things in mind really helps for deciding which intakes to pursue and like which prototypes we want to pursue and which ones wouldn't really work well with our robot. And eventually, after literally over a dozen different iterations, we did finally land on an intake that we were both happy with for our build philosophy and also packaging with our robot.
So, like, this entire process, how long would you say it takes you guys on average, like after kickoff to having the final iteration that you end up using on the robot? Like, how long do you think that normally takes you guys?
Yeah, we're very meticulous with which iterations and which types of subsystems we want to put on a robot. So we do typically take a bit longer. And I think this year we had our robot ready by around week two of the build
of the competition season.
Of the competition season. So that's week 8 of the actual build season. A lot of that was owed to just, going through, I think, over 15 different intakes, and also really trying to get down how to best machine and attach carbon fiber and other new challenges that we were facing.
So do you guys have any plans for kickoff this weekend?
So I guess our kickoff is what we've been doing the last few years, which is that we all go to the lab early in the morning and then watch the broadcast together as a team. But one thing that we generally do is that we don't actually start talking much about strategy or design goals right off the bat, because since we have a field connected to our lab, we still have to build the field every year. So that's something that we focus on the first 2 to 3 days, or the first half of the week. And then after that, we'll start going through design or our design goals, or kind of goals that we have for what our robot should achieve, and then start design from there. But generally, it's all we try to all watch the broadcast together and then just kind of start working on the field.
Do you guys have any predictions for the game this year?
What do you want?
Sorry?
What do you want it to be?
That's tough. I don't know.
I like shooting games, but I think they're more fun to watch.
Well, I'm gonna have to disagree there. I'm kind of hoping for a pick and place game, but I don't know. Water Game 2024 maybe.
No. I think the stair climber is going to be a thing. I think whatever it is, I think there's going to be a more challenging end game than the balancing of the charge station we had last year. Something that has a bigger differentiator in the end game. Something more like the 2022 in terms of difficulty. I think they'll probably run that back. I'm excited for either. Our team has a better record at shooting games than pick and place games, so maybe that would point us in that direction, in my opinion.
So those are all of our questions, and I will open the floor to you guys, and you guys can ask us anything you guys have in mind.
I guess, what are you guys hoping for? What are your predictions?
Me personally, I'm also hoping for a shooting game. I like the fast pace that Rapid React had, as well as the end game too, the climbing. That was nice to have a very challenging end game that it's crazy to see when an alliance completes it to like the max points, because that's like that was happened a lot more regional, but at Worlds for Rapid React that was more of an occurrence.
Yeah, I'd say like I like the pick and place aspect of 2023, where it was a little bit more of a challenge than previous years, where you had to go pretty far out, to go like 3 feet out. So I think that something like that would also be interesting, or maybe like a hybrid where you have to do like 2017, where you have to do both shooting the fuel and placing the gears.
So, well, you can go first.
Sure. I was wondering how do you guys typically start your season? And you just go straight into robot design, strategy, and prototyping, or like assemble field, or yeah.
Okay, so on Saturday morning we it's 12 o'clock for us, so we meet here. We tell people to have lunch before, so we don't have to like have that after, and then we watch the game reveal, and then we go into reading the manual. And a few people we have put down some carpet in the gym, and we like tape down some zones, and we try to like play the game as if we're robots, and we're just like walking through the different zones on the field and pretending like we're the robots, kind of. So and then after that we'll go into a bit of strategy talk and talk about like generally like what's our goals for the season, and then we go from there basically.
So, how did you guys start this podcast? And how long have you guys been running it for?
It's been like a year.
A year, yeah.
So we just had like an idea to like kind of like interact with other teams, kind of build our outreach and more. So our first episode was just like introducing our team and such last year. I think like during March, like right before regionals. And then after that, we did our first international team from the Dominican Republic, the Steampunks. So after that, we started thinking of like other ideas we could do, and we thought of this like 50 state series. And you're actually our 6th team. We're interviewing from California. Like 16, but like from California.
Yeah, 50 states.
It's high praise, boys. Getting to represent all of California. Look at that.
Yeah.
So, what are you guys doing to get ready for kickoff?
Yeah. So, in like since September, we've had a lot of training going on with, and recruitment with underclassmen. We've had for every different subgroup, we've had like mechanical training, electrical, programming, as well as for outreach. We've had a lot of newer members help in their fundraising tasks and help us outreach, like even with like the podcasts and things like that we're doing around our district. And yeah, we've been doing a lot of training, getting ready with practicing newer mechanisms. Like we've working on an elevator that we now are more knowledge on using in case we need to for this year's season. So just getting ourselves better ready, as well as the husky that Ankur mentioned before that we've constructed to use in the season this year, which will also help us.
Yeah, trying to just like get us more ready for that competition. We don't have to pack up as much, and we're ready to play basically.
And for like more funding and getting into like that in the beginning of the year, we do host like small fundraising events like movie night for like the middle schoolers and elementary schoolers, kind of like for us to get into like the gear of things before our major fundraising event in March. And then we also do like Regal Eagle Roundtables, which is like a conference almost with like local teams, and we talk about new initiatives we've started and then just like collaborate together. So those are like our big 2 off-season events, and then kick off after that.
I actually have a follow-up question. How big is your team, and like, are they all doing FRC?
Yeah, so all of our members, we only have FRC at the high school, and we are about 50 people, 50, 60 people. Some people show up more than others, so it's hard to put an exact number, but yeah, we only we're looking to start an FTC team as a class in about probably 2 years, right? A year, next year or the year after. So that'll be a class. So I'm not sure how much they'll meet after school.
So like since I guess our FRC team sizes are pretty similar, I guess how are you guys like organized, and how do you like train new members and stuff like that?
So to organize our team, we have our different branches that we mostly focus on, which each branch has like their own lead that organizes the students between them, and they also help lead the trainings so that any newer members will be working under this lead, and then that makes it easy for us to report like any concerns or how each of the members are doing, so as each of the leads are responsible for reporting how their members are to the vice presidents. And yeah, so I think to organize in like a nice branch structure.
Yeah, and we have two major branches, which is engineering and operations. So engineering deals with everything in the lab, which is programming, mechanical, electrical, strategy and design. And then operations deals with everything relating to fundraising, outreach. What else? Is that it?
Outreach.
Fundraising and outreach.
And impact, yeah.
And impact, award submissions, prepping of presenters, and all of that. And like any kind of events that we're going to with sponsor relations. So
Yeah, it's interesting because like we have a similar sort of breakdown in our team between like we call it just technical, and sort of non-technical sub teams. So I'm just wondering like what's the split between the two, I guess, for you guys?
It's a pretty even split.
Yeah.
I'd say that there's definitely, we tend to start off with more people going towards the engineering side because that's just how a robotics team happens to work. Like more people are interested in engineering. So we tend to always like advertise our operations more, and we get a bunch of people to like switch over as people realize, oh wait, I can also do this, and they learn more about it.
Yeah, because after kickoff, they start to get like a feel of impact and everything, so a lot more underclassmen are more interested in doing that type of stuff. So after kickoff, things really start to change.
I guess one last thing. What are you guys like personally most excited for the season?
I'm sorry. So I'd say like this is my last season. I'm a senior now, so like I'm excited to just do it once more and like try and we have some ambitious goals for this year, trying to build 2 robots, and we have a lot more funding this year compared to previous years. So like we're trying to do a lot more, and I think I'm excited to try.
I don't really know. I'm excited for like obviously competition season, and I'm also excited to actually see the game and start working on impact and all that.
Same here. I'm excited for competitions because they're really like hype and all, and they're really fun. And then I'm also really excited for Rampage, which is like our version of Chessy Champs.
Yeah.
But it's not like as competitive. It's more like I don't even know how to say it.
It's before any real competitions, at least in New York. So it's about week 1, and we just get a bunch of teams and put them all on the field so that everyone can get some experience.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, that you guys are the ones that host that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I've watched that event before. It's actually really. You guys stream it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we stream it on our.
Yeah. It's very, very informative to be able to watch anybody compete like at a week 0, week 1 level. So that's a great event that you guys put on and provide to not just your local community, but like even us out here. Go and scour everyone's doing stuff early on, and they're like, oh snap, these guys figured out the best thing, and then we're like, we're gonna steal that and like put it on our robot. So yeah.
I'd say for this season I'm excited to expand like the events that we've done in the past, including Regal Eagle Rampage, and as well as I'm excited to start working on a robot, as this year we had more organized path and a lot more resources at our disposal to use like newer robot parts, that we can finally work with less limits and focus on getting the best possible mechanisms, which is something that I'm really looking forward to do this season.
Yeah, and I feel like our team's like finally gotten back from that COVID slump where we lost quite a few members and we didn't have the team knowledge pass through as much over that point. So then now we're back and we are confident that we can actually build more and build better, basically.
Perfect. So thank you guys so much for coming on, and we hope you guys had fun, and good luck for your build season. It's coming up soon.
Thanks, you guys.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Good luck.